The word robot first appeared in a play by Czech writer Karel Čapek in 1920. In his play RUR, robots were artificial workers created for hard labor. Interestingly, the author derived the word from the Czech robota, meaning forced labor. Ironically, 100 years later, this word has become a symbol of future technologies. Today, robots clean homes, assemble cars, and even compose music. It turns out that it all started with the imagination of a writer who coined a word that changed the world. The oldest joke was found on a clay tablet in Mesopotamia and dates back to around 1900 BC. And funny enough, it's a joke about gas. It says, "Never has it happened that a woman did not fart in front of her husband." Humor, it turns out, is timeless. 4,000 years have passed, and the themes haven't changed. It's amusing that scholars, while deciphering the ancient text, discovered not only laws and myths, but also this little everyday joke. It seems people have always enjoyed joking about the simple and relatable. Flamingos can stand on one leg for hours. For us, it's a feat of balance, but for them, it's complete relaxation. Their joints are structured in a way that makes holding the pose easy and almost effortless. Think of it as having a built-in freeze-frame mode. Scientists don't fully understand how this works. It's as if their muscles lock in place, allowing the bird to even fall asleep without losing balance. Imagine a yogi meditating in a complex pose for hours, but without the slightest tension. For flamingos, it's as natural as sitting in a chair is for us. Mercury is the smallest planet in the solar system. Its diameter is only about 5,000 kilometers, which is less than half of Earth's. Imagine a sphere the size of Africa. That's roughly what it is. Yet Mercury is also the fastest. It orbits the Sun in just 88 Earth days. While we celebrate one new year, Mercury manages to celebrate 4. On its surface, there's hellish heat during the day and icy cold at night. It turns out to be a planet of contrasts, small, fast, and very harsh, like a cosmic sprinter living in an extreme rhythm. Sharks have no bones. Their skeletons are entirely made of cartilage. This makes their bodies light and flexible, like a spring. Sharks can turn sharply and dart towards their prey with lightning speed, like a perfectly oiled machine. This also allows them to grow throughout their lives. Some species can reach lengths of up to 12 meters. Imagine a fish the size of a bus, yet so agile that it can easily maneuver around any obstacles. The secret to its success lies in this paradox. No bones means no weight, only speed and freedom of movement. The Sahara is not just a sea of sand, but also a place where it can sing. Some dunes emit a low hum, or even melodic sounds when the sand slips down their slopes. It's like an organ built right into the desert. The reason lies in the unique shape and size of the grains. They rub against each other and create vibrations. Imagine walking on a dune, and suddenly the entire mound starts to resonate, as if alive. Travelers describe this sound as enchanting and mystical. It's no wonder that local tribes have legends about spirits singing in the sands. In the town of Coober Pedy in southern Australia, people hide from the heat underground. There, they have not only homes, shops, and churches, but even a post office. Imagine walking into a rock and finding a regular post office inside, complete with a window, stamps, and mailboxes. Everything operates just like on the surface, except the walls are made of sandstone and the temperature is pleasantly cool year-round. Tourists are thrilled. It's rare to send a postcard from an actual underground office. For the locals, however, it's just a part of life. A way to survive in a climate where the ground literally melts from the heat in summer. The very first sound recording appeared in the 18th century, long before Edison's phonograph. The Frenchman Édouard Léon Scott de Martinville used a device called the phonautograph in 1860. It couldn't reproduce sound. It only left traces of sound waves on a glass plate. It wasn't until a century and a half later that scientists were able to decode these lines and heard a voice singing a French song. Thus, the first sounds were preserved as a ghost of the past, which could only come to life thanks to modern technology. Some monkeys, like macaques, cannot stick out their tongues. Their muscle structure limits this movement. For us, sticking out our tongues is a childish prank or a way to tease a friend, but for them, it's impossible. Interestingly, macaques manage their food perfectly well. They crack hard fruits, process bark, and use their hands with remarkable precision. So, the absence of a flexible tongue is compensated by their dexterous fingers. It's as if nature said, "All right, the tongue will be immobile, but I'll give you hands like a jeweler's." This makes their lives no less rich. They simply express themselves through actions rather than words. Once oranges were not orange at all. Their ancestors, grown in Southeast Asia, had green skin. Even today, in tropical regions, oranges often remain green, although inside they are fully ripe and sweet. Only in cooler countries does the skin lose chlorophyll and turn the familiar orange color. So, orange is more of a climatic coincidence. Imagine a supermarket where all the oranges are green. People would think they are unripe. In reality, that's how they looked in their true historical form. Japan's national anthem is the shortest in the world. In its original form, it consists of just 32 characters and lasts less than a minute. Yet, within these concise lines lies a profound meaning, a wish for the country's prosperity and longevity. In contrast to other anthems that feature lengthy tales of heroism and history, Japan's anthem sounds like a poetic whisper. It's akin to a haiku among anthems: minimal words, maximum emotion. This succinctness is what makes it unique. Sometimes it's truly better to say little but with impact. In Switzerland, animal welfare is taken to the level of laws. You can't keep a single guinea pig alone, only in pairs or groups. This is because these little creatures are very social and quickly become sad and even ill without company. Imagine buying one guinea pig and you could face a fine, as the state considers loneliness to be real suffering for them. On the bright side, owners know that their pets live in small groups where they can always interact, sleep together, or share a carrot. This law demonstrates that animals are not toys, but living beings with feelings, and they deserve to be treated with humanity. Today, the Earth's population has surpassed 8 billion people. Imagine, that's 8 billion stories, voices, smiles, and destinies. For comparison, in just the last 100 years, we've quadrupled in number. Once, only a few million people lived on the planet, and now that many can reside in a single large city. This figure prompts us to think about the future. Will resources be sufficient? Will we learn to care for the planet? Yet at the same time, 8 billion represents 8 billion opportunities, ideas, and discoveries that could change the world. In Sweden, donors receive a message on their phone when their blood is used to save someone's life. Imagine you donate blood, and a couple of days later, you get an SMS saying, "Thank you, today your blood helped a patient." It's not only a nice gesture, but also gives a sense that your action truly matters. People start donating blood more often because they see the results right on their phones. This simple step turns an ordinary procedure into a heartwarming story of human solidarity, and perhaps it's the best like in the world. In 2006, a fisherman from the Philippines accidentally caught a giant pearl weighing a whopping 34 kilograms. He kept it under his bed as a talisman for 10 years, unaware of its value. It later turned out that the find was worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Imagine, an ordinary fishing trip turned into a treasure larger than a football. The pearl was named the Pearl of Lao Tzu and is still regarded as one of nature's most astonishing discoveries. Giant whales are not just marine giants, but also true sanitizers of the climate. When a whale dies, its massive body sinks to the ocean floor, taking with it tons of carbon. This is roughly equivalent to the emissions produced by 100 cars over their lifetime. So, whales help clean the atmosphere simply by living their lives. Scientists refer to them as carbon graveyards, but it doesn't sound sad at all. Each whale makes the world a cleaner place. It's amusing that the largest creature on the planet, weighing hundreds of tons, works in harmony with nature to ensure we breathe fresh air. The largest spider on the planet is the Goliath bird eater. Its leg span can reach 30 centimeters and it weighs over 170 grams. This hairy giant can hunt not only insects but also small rodents, lizards, and even chicks. When encountered, it can produce a frightening hissing sound by rubbing its legs together. Despite its fearsome appearance, its bite is not deadly to humans. It's similar to a wasp sting. However, the impression of an encounter is strong. It's like a small dog in the world of spiders. Scientists call it the king of spiders, and it's hard to argue with that. The carnivorous plant Venus flytrap can literally count. When an insect touches its sensitive hairs, the trap doesn't close immediately. The plant waits for a second touch to ensure it's not just a random raindrop or a speck of dust. If the touch is repeated, the lobes snap shut. Scientists have found that the flytrap keeps an internal count, and a specific number of stimuli is also needed for digestion. This means the plant has a primitive memory and a decision-making system. This makes it resemble a creature with a brain, even though it doesn't have one. In the late 90s, Furby toys appeared in the US. Furry, chatty creatures with electronic eyes. Rumors circulated that they could record conversations and send them somewhere. It got to the point where they were officially banned from government facilities, including the National Security Agency. Of course, it turned out that Furbies were not spies at all, just a myth and panic surrounding a new toy. But history shows how people sometimes fear technology. A toy designed for children's play briefly became a dangerous agent. Funny, isn't it? Sound can not only be heard but also seen. This is demonstrated using so-called kladni figures. A metal plate is sprinkled with sand and then vibrated using a bow or speaker. The grains of sand arrange themselves into intricate patterns, stars, circles, lines. Each frequency creates its own drawing. It's as if sound paints a picture right before your eyes. Interestingly, this experiment can even be replicated at home with simple materials. So, music is not just something you hear, but also something you can see if you know the clever trick. On Venus, there is an optical phenomenon similar to a rainbow, but it's called a glory. Instead of raindrops, tiny particles of sulfuric acid in the planet's dense atmosphere create it. As a result, bright-colored circles appear in the sky, resembling a glowing halo. Imagine not the familiar arc above the rain, but a true cosmic aura. This shows that even on other planets, nature puts on its own light and color shows, albeit with different ingredients. And even though Venus is distant and harsh, it can also be beautiful. In Bhutan, almost half of the residents walk to work every day. The roads there don't always accommodate cars, and the mountainous terrain makes walking a natural part of life. Imagine, in the morning, people ascend trails with views of the Himalayas, and in the evening they return the same way. For them, it's not about sports or fitness, it's just a regular means of getting around. Perhaps that's why Bhutanese are considered some of the happiest people. They connect work with nature every day, breathe fresh air, and enjoy stunning landscapes. In Armenia, a chocolate bar weighing over 4 tons was once created. It measured 5.5 meters long and nearly 3 meters wide, making it took 10 days and a huge amount of cocoa beans. Imagine an entire stadium of children could have feasted on this chocolate field. When the chocolate was finally unveiled at the celebration, it wasn't placed in a museum. It was simply broken apart and shared with the people. There's something touching about this. The largest sweet symbol in history became a communal treat. It's as if the very idea of chocolate, sharing joy, materialized in this record-breaking bar. If you take a close look at Leonardo da Vinci's most famous painting, you'll notice something strange. The Mona Lisa has no eyebrows. Scholars debate whether the artist intended it that way or if the eyebrows have faded over time. But this small detail makes her smile even more enigmatic. We are used to reading emotions through facial expressions, and the absence of familiar features is disorienting. It's like having a conversation with someone, but part of their words suddenly disappears. Each viewer fills in the gaps in their own way. Perhaps that's why the smile of the Gioconda is so captivating. It communicates with us through the silence of missing details. Today we send each other emojis, hearts, and pizza in chats as if they've always existed. But the first emojis appeared in Japan in the late 90s. There were only 176 of them, and they looked very simple. A sun, a phone, a smiling face. Back then, it seemed trivial, but now emojis have turned into a real language understood all over the world. It's amusing that the idea came from a Japanese mobile company. They just wanted to make communication easier for their users. Now the entire world expresses emotions through these tiny images. You could say that without these little symbols, texting would be dull, like tea without sugar. In the town of Talkeetna, Alaska, they've come up with a tourist attraction. A trained bear delivers the mail. Of course, he doesn't go door to door but participates in a show, carrying baskets filled with letters inside the post office. Tourists love the idea of sending a postcard with a bear stamp. It's a unique keepsake. The locals have turned this into an attraction, and now the bear postman has become a true symbol of the town. It sounds almost like a fairy tale, but it's actually a real way to attract visitors and make ordinary mail a local landmark. In Norway, they came up with a strange yet fun competition, the championship for throwing frozen salmon. Imagine people gathering in a square, taking a huge fish and throwing it as far as they can. It started as a joke among fishermen but has since become a tradition that attracts tourists from all over the world. The atmosphere is more like a celebration. Music, food, fun, and fish flying through the air. It may seem crazy, but it's these kinds of things that make a culture unique. Every country has its own quirky pastimes. Some have bulls, some have pancakes, and in Norway there's flying salmon. The snail may seem slow and harmless, but it has a whole arsenal in its mouth. Thousands of tiny teeth located on a special organ called the radula. With this rasp-like ribbon, the snail scrapes its food, leaves, bark, even stones covered in algae. The teeth are so small that they can only be seen under a microscope, but they make the snail a true connoisseur of nature. Imagine having a mini saw in your mouth that works non-stop. It sounds funny, but this is what helps it survive in various conditions. You've probably noticed that sometimes chocolate develops a white coating. Many people think it's spoiled, but no, it's just fat bloom. When cocoa butter rises to the surface due to temperature changes, the taste remains almost unchanged, and this chocolate is safe to eat. It's as if the bar has grayed from stress. Looking odd on the outside, but still sweet on the inside. Interestingly, manufacturers sometimes explain this on the packaging so that people don't get scared. So if you see that white coating, don't throw it away. Just give it a second chance. Imagine this. What we call a banana tree is actually not a tree at all. It doesn't have a real wooden trunk. It's just tightly rolled leaves. Essentially, the banana is the tallest grass on the planet. So you walk through a garden, see this massive plant, and think, definitely a tree, while botanists smile slyly. It's amusing that the fruits we eat in the morning actually grow on a giant blade of grass. Picture a lawn in front of your house, but the size of a 3-story building. That's the green paradox of nature. Planes fly faster from west to east thanks to jet streams, powerful air currents at high altitudes. Imagine a giant river of air rushing above the clouds. When a plane enters this current, it's like being picked up by a conveyor belt. As a result, the flight from New York to London is a couple of hours shorter than the return trip. It turns out that there are highways in the sky, and pilots make good use of them. We hardly notice it while sitting in our seats with coffee, but it's this invisible wind that makes our journey quicker. Iceland is one of the few places on Earth without mosquitoes. The climate here is such that insects can't complete their life cycle. It's too cold in winter and the temperature changes too rapidly in summer. For tourists, it's a paradise. You can stroll through forests and by lakes without the annoying buzzing. The locals joke that this is one of their country's main advantages. Imagine summer, a campfire, a tent, and not a single mosquito bite. For us, it sounds like a dream, but for Icelanders, it's just a way of life. Chicago is known as the Windy City, and many believe it's all about the weather. In reality, the nickname originated in the 19th century and referred to the city's politicians, who were famous for their long and pompous speeches. Journalists sarcastically remarked that Chicago was blown by the wind, not due to the climate, but because of empty words. Of course, the city does experience winds from Lake Michigan, but historically it's more of a jab at talkative politicians than a meteorological fact. Interestingly, over time the original meaning was forgotten and the nickname remained, becoming the city's official calling card. Fleas are true acrobats of the insect world. They can jump up to 350 times their body length. For comparison, if a human had such an ability, they could leap over a skyscraper or easily reach the top shelf in a library without a ladder. The secret of fleas lies in a special protein called resilin, which acts like a spring. They store energy and release it instantly, like miniature catapults. This allows them to escape danger and find new hosts. Their small size makes them almost invisible, but they possess enough strength to make any athlete envious. 4,500 years ago in ancient Egypt, people were making dental prosthetics. Archaeologists have found jaws with artificial teeth secured by gold wire. Of course, it looked crude compared to modern technologies, but for its time, it was a medical marvel. Imagine how a priest or noble could smile again despite losing their teeth. The Egyptians always sought to defy time, from embalming bodies to the first attempts at prosthetics. In this, they were true pioneers. The Leaning Tower of Pisa has been considered leaning for centuries, but thanks to the foundation reinforcement, it still stands today. In the 1990s, engineers carried out complex work. They excavated soil from one side and added supports to prevent the tilt from increasing. As a result, the tower was stabilized, and it has even straightened a bit. Imagine, a symbol of Italy could have collapsed, but the efforts of scientists turned it into a stable monument. Tourists still take pictures supporting it with their hands, but now we can be sure it will stand for at least another 200 years. Only humans can blush. This phenomenon is linked to the expansion of blood vessels in the face during emotions like shame, excitement, or love. You've probably caught yourself feeling your cheeks betray you after an awkward comment or an unexpected compliment. It's amusing, but no dog, cat, or even intelligent monkey can blush. There's something very human about this. We not only think and speak, but we also wear our emotions right on our faces, like a living mood indicator. Human hearing is limited to frequencies ranging from about 20 to 20,000 hertz. Anything below is infrasound, and anything above is ultrasound. We can't hear them, but animals can. Dogs respond to whistles that sound like silence to us, while dolphins communicate using frequencies beyond our hearing range. This means that the world around us is much richer in sounds than we can perceive. It's as if we're listening to a radio on one frequency, while there are dozens of stations. This serves as a reminder that our senses are just a small filter of reality. Octopuses are true inventors of the underwater world. Scientists have observed that they can use coconut shells as shelters. They pick up suitable halves, drag them along the ocean floor, and then assemble them like a shield when they need to hide. It looks as if the octopus has its own backpack or portable tent. For an animal without bones or a shell, this is a brilliant solution. It creates its own armor. Octopuses are already known for their high intelligence, but using objects is a level of ingenuity akin to humans. So it turns out that a little MacGyver with 8 arms lives on the ocean floor. In Milan, skyscrapers have been built that resemble giant flower beds. Thousands of trees and shrubs have been planted on balconies and facades. This is the Vertical Forest Project. Buildings that not only provide housing but also purify the air, create shade, and reduce noise. In a city filled with cars and concrete, they have become green oases. The residents of these homes literally live among the treetops, not in a country house, but in a high-rise. Beautiful and beneficial at the same time. Architects have demonstrated that nature and the metropolis can be allies, not enemies, if trees are given space even on the 30th floor. When a group of ferrets gathers, it's called a business. This is quite fitting. They are constantly bustling about, exploring everything around them, stealing shiny objects, and darting around as if discussing important deals. Imagine a small office where the employees wear fluffy tails instead of suits. They jump, play, and look so busy that you can't help but think, yes, they really are hard at work. This amusing name highlights the nature of these animals. Active, curious, and a bit chaotic. It's a business you could watch forever. You've probably seen a flamingo or a duck standing on one leg. This isn't acrobatics. It's a way to conserve heat. Birds lose a lot of energy through their legs, and by tucking one leg under their feathers, they reduce heat loss by almost half. It would seem wild for us. Try standing like that for even 10 minutes. But flamingos can even sleep while balancing on one leg, like yogis in nature. Scientists call it unilateral resting, but essentially it's just a comfortable habit. Birds know the secret to comfort better than we do. In Rome, a pizza over 40 meters in diameter was once baked. It was named Ottavia in honor of the Roman emperor. The weight of this culinary monster exceeded 23 tons. Special ovens and a team of pizzaiolos worked for several days to prepare it. Imagine a square where instead of asphalt, there's a giant crust topped with tomato sauce and cheese. This pizza could feed an entire city. Interestingly, it was completely gluten-free, ensuring that the record not only amazed but also catered to those with dietary restrictions, a true gastronomic spectacle for all of Italy. Scientists warn that by the middle of the 21st century, there will be more plastic in the ocean than fish. Imagine looking at the sea and realizing that what swims beneath the surface isn't a school of sardines, but bottles and bags. Right now, millions of tons of waste are forming entire islands of garbage. The problem is that plastic takes hundreds of years to decompose, breaking down into microplastics that enter fish organisms and then our food. This outlook is alarming, but it also serves as a motivation. The sooner we change our habits, the greater the chance we have to keep the ocean alive and clean. Sharks are eternal swimmers. They lack a swim bladder, which keeps most fish at the right depth. To avoid sinking and suffocating, they must keep moving all the time. Water flows through their gills, and that's the only way they get oxygen. Imagine having to walk your entire life, with no right to sit down or lie down to sleep. For a shark, this is normal. Even in sleep, it continues to swim, moving slowly and calmly. So, the ocean is for it both a bed and a road, a home all at once. A true marathon that lasts a lifetime. Scientists love to say that the water we drink today has existed since the time of the dinosaurs. Water molecules are constantly circulating, evaporating, falling as rain, flowing into rivers and seas. Imagine this. By sipping a glass of water, you might be drinking the very same molecules that quenched the thirst of a triceratops millions of years ago. This cycle makes us part of a vast system where the past and present intertwine in every drop. Even ordinary water turns out to be a connection between us and the prehistoric world. The phrase, "the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog," is known for containing every letter of the English alphabet. Such sentences are called pangrams. They are used to test fonts, practice typing, or evaluate keyboards. However, this is not a concept from the computer age. Calligraphers in ancient times also created pangrams to refine their handwriting. Imagine having to come up with a phrase that includes all the letters while still sounding meaningful. It's like a verbal puzzle that combines language and play. Some species of turtles can breathe through their cloaca. It sounds funny, but it's actually an important survival adaptation. During cold weather, they can be under ice where there's almost no oxygen. That's when special cavities in the cloaca come into play, allowing them to absorb oxygen from the water. It's a sort of backup breathing. The turtle seems to say, "Well, if my nose and mouth aren't working, I have an alternative." This mechanism enables them to stay underwater for hours and even hibernate without coming up for air. Digital clocks are much more accurate than mechanical ones. Electronic devices use the vibrations of a quartz crystal, which functions almost like a perfectly precise metronome. Mechanical clocks, on the other hand, rely on springs and gears, making them more prone to wear and inaccuracies. The difference can be minutes over a month, while digital clocks may only lose a few seconds. Imagine a race. One runner stays perfectly on track, while the other constantly veers off slightly. That's how it is with clocks. Yet the irony is that mechanical watches often become symbols of luxury and style. In Patagonia, there is a hill that produces melodic sounds when the wind blows over it. Locals call it the Singing Hill and consider it a natural wonder. Imagine climbing to the top and hearing the shimmering tones as if a giant flute is playing. Scientists explain this phenomenon by the unique structure of the stones and the cavities through which the air flows. But for tourists, it feels more like a concert put on by the earth itself. They even organize tours where people simply sit and listen to the hill play. It turns out that nature has its own musical instrument, and it sounds better than any speaker. Today, humanity has explored only 1 to 5% of the ocean. Everything else remains in the dark depths, where humans have rarely ventured. Unknown species, entire ecosystems, and even new sources of energy may be hidden there. Imagine, we know more about the moon than about the ocean floor. This paradox astonishes scientists and fuels the imagination. What lies beneath? Giant creatures, underwater cities, or just darkness? Each new descent of exploration devices reveals a piece of this mystery. It turns out that the ocean is the last great enigma on Earth. The Amazon is a river so powerful that its fresh water flows into the Atlantic for hundreds of kilometers. Imagine sailing on a ship in the open ocean, and the water around you is still not salty. Scientists call this phenomenon one of the greatest wonders of hydrology. The Amazon acts like a giant faucet, diluting the ocean's salinity so abundantly that fish and plants feel its effects far beyond the mouth of the river. No other river in the world can transform the sea in such a way. The Amazon is not just a river, it is a living artery of the planet, demonstrating how water can be stronger than even the greatest ocean. The peregrine falcon is the speed champion among animals. In a hunting dive, it can reach speeds of nearly 400 kilometers per hour. That's faster than a Formula 1 car. The secret lies in the bird folding its wings, transforming into a living arrow. Imagine watching a pigeon in the sky, and suddenly a peregrine falcon swoops down from above at breakneck speed, catches it, and ascends again. It all happens in seconds, and the prey doesn't even have time to realize what just occurred. This natural predator demonstrates that bird aerodynamics have been perfected. Camels are the champions of the desert. They can drink up to 130 liters of water in just 13 minutes. It's like a person draining an entire bathtub in one go. Their bodies are designed to retain moisture. Their blood and tissues are adapted to withstand dehydration, and they hardly sweat at all. Because of this, camels survive where other animals wouldn't last a day. It's no wonder they are called ships of the desert. They carry loads and people across the scorching sands like enormous living water tanks. About 10% of people on the planet are left-handed. The world is primarily designed for right-handed individuals, from scissors and door handles to school desks. However, left-handed people often stand out with a unique style of thinking. There's a theory that their brain hemispheres function differently, which may explain the prevalence of creative and unconventional personalities among them. Imagine living in a world where everything is slightly inconvenient. Yet this inconvenience can sometimes spark ingenuity. Left-handed individuals seem to see the world from a different perspective. One of the most popular traditions in the world, tea drinking, was born out of chance. Legend has it that 5,000 years ago, the Chinese Emperor Shennong was drinking hot water under a tree when leaves fell into his cup. The water's flavor changed, and he enjoyed the drink. Thus, tea was born. Since then, it has become a part of the culture in dozens of countries. Interestingly, billions of people start their day with this drink that was discovered by accident. It turns out that a habit we can't imagine our mornings without once originated from a simple gust of wind. The starfish eats in a rather unusual way. It turns its stomach inside out and wraps it around its prey, such as a shell. The food is digested externally and then the stomach is pulled back in. It's like a portable container. Take it out, eat, and put it away. This method allows the starfish to handle prey that is difficult to swallow whole. It's amusing that behind the calm appearance of these sea creatures lies such a trick with their stomachs. They seem to know the secret to an unconventional approach to eating. Pigs are much smarter than people tend to think. They can solve simple puzzles, deceive others for treats, and even recognize themselves in mirrors. In experiments, pigs completed tasks faster than dogs, and they easily learn tricks. Imagine a pig that not only knows where the tasty apple is, but also distracts its competitor to reach the food first. Scientists consider them to be among the most intelligent animals on the farm. It turns out that behind the image of a simple country dweller lies a true strategist and psychologist. Who would have thought that in London, where rain is more common than sunshine, there's a real underground beach? In an old subway tunnel, an unusual space has been created. Sand, palm trees, and lighting that mimics sunset. Parties and concerts take place there, and stepping inside feels like entering a parallel reality. Above you, trains rumble by, while people sip cocktails on the shore of an underground sea. This place is like a little secret of the city. No one expects to find a beach beneath the asphalt of a metropolis. The irony is that for Londoners, it's easier to dive into the tunnel than to travel to the sea. In 2017, Emma Morano from Italy passed away, the last person born in the 19th century. She lived to be 117 years old and witnessed a world changing faster than ever before. Imagine, in her childhood there were no airplanes or televisions, and by the end of her life, people were using smartphones and the internet. She experienced 2 world wars, dozens of rulers, and an entire era. Emma's story serves as a reminder that each person carries a whole library of time within them, and with her passing, the last page of the 19th century was turned. An ant is like a small truck with a 2-chamber system. One stomach is for itself, to digest food and gain energy, while the other is for the colony. It stores food there to share with other ants through a special process called trophallaxis. This means ants literally feed each other mouth to mouth, functioning together as a single organism. If one finds a sweet treat, it not only carries it home but also shares it, so others know the way to the treasure. It's like if we could eat a pastry and immediately pass a piece to a friend straight from our stomach, along with the address of the nearest bakery. Scientists have noticed an intriguing habit. When leaving a cave, bats almost always turn left. Why? One theory suggests that this helps them avoid collisions in their large colony. Imagine an intersection without traffic lights, where thousands of cars decide to go only in one direction. It's the same for bats. This common rule of movement makes flying safer. What seems trivial to us is a matter of survival for them. In the dark, order is especially important, and nature has elegantly solved this issue. Left it is. On the island of St. Helena lives a tortoise named Jonathan, who is around 190 years old. He was born in the 19th century and has witnessed changes in eras, wars, and technologies. Imagine when Jonathan was young, there was no electricity in every home, and now people are launching satellites into space. Yet the tortoise continues to peacefully graze on grass and bask in the sun. His life is like a living chronicle of history. People come from all over the world just to catch a glimpse of this time machine with a shell. Rabbits are cute and fluffy, but they have an interesting feature. Their bodies are designed in such a way that they cannot vomit. Food moves through their system in only one direction, which helps them avoid unnecessary energy loss. On one hand, this is a plus. Rabbits don't suffer from nausea. On the other hand, it's a downside. If they eat something harmful, they can't get rid of it. That's why the owners of these domestic little ears always monitor their diet. It's amusing that such delicate animals have a system that is more rigid than that of many predators. Fish are not as silent as they seem. Many species have their own ways of talking. Some tap their bones, others produce a sound similar to drumming, and some snap their teeth. These sounds help defend territory, attract mates, or simply maintain contact with the school. Underwater, there is a constant chorus, but we don't hear it due to the limitations of human hearing. If humans could perceive all these sounds, swimming underwater would feel like a real concert, with each creature performing its part. If you decide to walk the Great Wall of China from start to finish, prepare for a marathon lasting almost a year and a half. The total length of the wall is over 20,000 kilometers. Even if you walk 30 kilometers a day without stopping, it would still take about 18 months. Imagine every day brings new views, mountains, steppes, villages, all accompanied by ancient stone battlements. It's like walking along the longest historical ribbon, where each tower holds its own story. Few can undertake such a journey. But the thought that it's possible is inspiring. Elephants can listen to the earth with their feet. Their pads pick up low-frequency vibrations, steps of other elephants, thunderstorms, or even the movement of predators miles away. The signal travels through their bones to the brain, allowing the animal to understand what's happening around it. It's like having a built-in seismograph. Because of this, elephants can communicate with each other over vast distances, as if using a secret channel. Imagine walking barefoot and suddenly sensing that someone familiar is stomping far away. Remarkably for elephants, their ears are not the only hearing organs. In the mountainous regions of India, people have found a way to collect water directly from the air. They stretch large nets that capture droplets of mist. The moisture drips into reservoirs, providing villages with a source of water even during dry spells. This simple yet ingenious solution saves thousands of lives. Imagine being able to catch a cloud in a net and turn it into drinking water. For the mountain dwellers, this is not a fantasy but a reality. This method demonstrates how ingenuity helps people survive in the toughest conditions. Cows can climb stairs, but going down is almost an impossible mission for them. It all comes down to the structure of their legs. Their joints are designed in a way that stepping down leads to a loss of balance. Imagine a friend calling a cow to the second floor, only to end up needing special equipment to get it back down. It's amusing, but it serves as a reminder that every creature has its limitations. We can easily run down the steps, while for a cow, it's like us sliding down a hill on skates without brakes. In 2001, the residents of the Indian state of Kerala were stunned. Red rain was falling from the sky. The droplets left crimson puddles as if after a mystical sign. People thought of the apocalypse or the blood of gods. Scientists, however, discovered that particles of sand and spores from microscopic algae had entered the atmosphere, coloring the rain. This phenomenon lasted for several weeks, and each day felt like a scene from a science fiction movie. For the locals, this event remains one of the most mysterious memories, told to children as a miracle that happened in their land. In Australia, there is Lake Hillier, which changes color from soft pink to deep purple. This effect is created by special algae and minerals. Imagine flying in a plane and seeing a bright pink spot among the greenery of the island, as if a giant spilled strawberry yogurt. Scientists are still debating why the shade is so stable, as even in a bottle, the water from the lake retains its color. For tourists, it is one of the most unusual sights. A natural palette that looks like a scene from a sci-fi movie. In Germany, in the town of Oberstdorf, a unique lift has been built that moves diagonally rather than vertically. It takes tourists up the mountainside at a 45-degree angle, combining features of both a funicular and a lift. Imagine stepping into the cabin, the doors closing, and instead of the usual vertical movement, you start gliding as if on a slope. For those who love unusual experiences, it's a true adventure. Moreover, the view from the cabin is breathtaking. Mountains, forests, and sky seem to unfold before your eyes. This mode of transport demonstrates that engineering can be both practical and fun. Egypt can confidently be called the oldest state in the world. Its history spans over 5,000 years, beginning with the unification of Upper and Lower Kingdoms. The pyramids, temples, and the mysterious Nile are not just beautiful images. but symbols of a civilization that laid the foundation for many cultures. Imagine, while Europe was still unaware of writing, the Egyptians were already constructing majestic tombs and writing in hieroglyphs. And even though thousands of years have passed, Egypt still holds secrets that scholars are unraveling, like the pages of the oldest book in the world. Tokyo Tower is very similar to the Eiffel Tower, but it's painted in orange and white. The most interesting part is that it weighs almost half as much. This is due to the new generation steel used in its construction in the 1950s. The lightweight yet strong metal allowed for the creation of a massive structure without unnecessary heaviness. It turned out to be an acrobatic building, tall, stable, and yet slim. The tower became a symbol of Japan's recovery after the war, and its silhouette still adorns Tokyo. It serves as a reminder that technology can be both powerful and elegant. In 2019, Bulgarian Vasily Ivanov set an unusual record by blowing out 58 candles in one breath. He used a special device that directed the airflow to all the candles at once. Just imagine the strength of the lungs needed to handle that many flames. A regular person struggles to blow out a dozen candles on a cake, and here he managed a whole string of them. This record made it into the Guinness Book and serves as an example of how even a simple action like blow harder can be turned into a world achievement. Sharks have a secret that dentists can only dream of. Their teeth are coated with natural fluoride. Imagine a smile that never knows cavities. These predators replace their teeth hundreds of times throughout their lives, and each new one grows in perfectly healthy and strong. Sharks don't use toothbrushes or toothpaste, yet their jaws always look like a Hollywood star on the red carpet. That's why sharks can hunt for decades without worrying about pain or treatment. If humans had the same advantage, dentists could be turned into museums. This is where people worked when teeth still broke. In Antarctica, amidst icy landscapes, there is a place where a stream of crimson water flows from beneath a glacier. It has been dubbed the Blood Falls. In reality, the water is colored due to a high iron content. It oxidizes and gives off that hue. However, it looks truly eerie. The pristine white ice and the red river resemble a scene from a horror movie. Scientists believe that beneath the ice lies an ancient lake with microorganisms that thrive in conditions with almost no oxygen. Thus, the blood falls are not only a spectacle but also a clue about life in extreme conditions. The oldest university in the world was established in the 9th century in Morocco. It was founded by a woman, Fatima al-Fihri. She invested her inheritance in the construction of a mosque and an educational center, which became a place of knowledge for thousands of students. It's remarkable that at a time when women had very few rights, one of them created an institution that has survived for centuries. Today, Al-Qarawiyyin University is still operational and is considered the oldest in the world. Fatima's story reminds us that great changes often come from those we least expect. In English, a group of ladybugs is called loveliness, which can be translated as grace or charm. This is perhaps one of the most fitting names for these creatures. Imagine a meadow where dozens of bright red bugs are crawling through the grass. The word herd would sound harsh, while loveliness perfectly captures the mood. Language often reflects people's attitudes toward nature, and in this case it is incredibly warm. It feels as though the ladybugs themselves have earned the title of the cutest beings in the insect world. China has built the longest bridge in the world, the Danyang-Kunshan Grand Viaduct. It stretches over 160 kilometers. This high-speed railway connects major cities. Imagine riding a train while an endless bridge stretches beneath you, disappearing into the horizon. The construction took just 4 years, with thousands of engineers and workers involved. This bridge stands as a symbol of humanity's ability to conquer even the vastest spaces, turning impossible distances into ordinary roads. It turns out that we perceive smells not only with our noses. Our skin has receptors that respond to aromatic substances. Scientists conducted experiments by applying certain scents to the skin and observed that the cells reacted. Moreover, some aromas accelerated wound healing. It seems that our skin acts like an additional sense organ that quietly works in the background. Imagine if we could smell the aroma of coffee not just with our noses, but also with our palms. While this sounds fantastic, research shows that the skin does indeed pick up chemical signals. Regular sand can be transformed into transparent glass when heated to around 1,700 degrees. At such high temperatures, it melts and becomes a liquid mass, which solidifies into a strong and clear material upon cooling. Imagine how ordinary beach sand gives rise to windows, glasses, or stained glass in cathedrals. This was known to the ancient Egyptians, who were the first to create glass ornaments. It's remarkable that from the simplest grains we walk on barefoot, fragile beauty can be crafted that adorns homes and cities for centuries. The blue whale is the largest animal on the planet. Its heart can be compared to a small car. The arteries are so wide that theoretically a person could fit inside them. Each beat of this giant engine pumps tons of blood through its body, sustaining a creature that weighs hundreds of tons. Imagine what such a heart would sound like up close. A rumble comparable to the bass at a rock concert. And it works continuously for decades. We often talk about the heart as a symbol of strength and love, and for the whale, it is literally the largest on Earth. In a laboratory in Minnesota, there is a special room where the noise level is just 9 decibels. That's quieter than a whisper, quieter than the rustling of leaves. People who enter begin to hear their own heartbeat, and even the movement of blood in their veins. Many can't last more than a few minutes. The silence feels deafening. Scientists use this room for testing equipment and hearing. But for the average person, it's more of an extreme challenge. It creates a paradox. The quieter the surroundings, the louder you sound to yourself. An ant can lift a load 50 times its own weight. If a human had such abilities, they could easily throw a truck over their shoulder and stroll down the street. The secret lies in the ant's powerful muscles working with a lightweight exoskeleton, and its body weight is distributed quite differently than ours. In a colony, this turns into a complete transportation system. Dozens of ants carry food and building materials, like little laborers on a construction site. Their strength is one of the best examples of how size does not determine capability. In ancient Rome, fashion could be both strange and bold. To achieve a rich dark hair color, noble women used not dye, but leeches. They would take them, place them in a vessel, let them ferment, and then apply the resulting goo to their hair. It sounds horrifying, but at the time it was considered a true beauty secret. Imagine a modern salon. A client walks in and is offered leeches shampoo. We would run away in horror, but for the Romans it was a normal grooming ritual. Interestingly, thousands of years later, we are still willing to undergo bizarre procedures for beauty. Only now they smell a lot better. Sharks have existed for over 400 million years, while the first trees appeared only 50 million years later. This means these predators swam in the ocean long before forests rustled on land. Imagine a planet without trees, but with sharks already feeling like the masters of the sea. They have survived mass extinctions, ice ages, and shifts in continents, and they still remain formidable hunters. In this sense, sharks are true dinosaurs of the ocean, proving to be more resilient than even the oldest plants. The blue whale is not only the largest, but also the loudest inhabitant of the Earth. Its call reaches up to 188 decibels, louder than a departing airplane. These sounds can be heard up to 800 kilometers away underwater. The whale acts like a marine radio transmitter, communicating with other giants over vast distances. For us, it would be a deafening roar, but for them, it's a gentle song. Imagine, deep in the ocean, where it's dark and empty, a powerful bass suddenly resonates, heard by whales scattered across the sea. It's a true symphony of nature. In Texas, there's a place that tourists call the Doll Graveyard Town. Once a mining settlement, it is now filled with hundreds of old dolls. They stand on fences, sit in houses, and hang from trees, creating an atmosphere straight out of a mystical film. The locals have turned this into a quirky attraction, offering tours and joking that the dolls rule the town. Of course, it's all in good fun, but it truly looks eerie. Strolling through the streets among the doll residents is not for the faint of heart. Today, over 1,300,000,000 people know and use English. It is not only an official language in dozens of countries, but also the language of the internet, science, and business. This means that even if you find yourself in an unfamiliar corner of the world, the chances of being able to communicate in English are still high. It has become something like a universal translator between nations. Of course, every language has its own beauty, but English has become the bridge that connects millions of different cultures. One could say it is a true key to the global world. A regular apple is made up of 90% water. That's why it's so juicy and refreshing. When you bite into an apple, it's like drinking a mini glass of pure water with vitamins. It's no wonder apples are a popular snack for travel. They're light, nutritious, and quench your thirst. Interestingly, thanks to their high water content, apples can be stored for a long time without losing freshness. They are like a natural bottle of drink, just in the form of a fruit. And perhaps one of the most convenient snacks created by nature. In Slovenia, archaeologists discovered a wooden wheel that is about 5,000 years old. It was made from ash and secured with oak wedges. For its time, it was a true engineering marvel. A component that allowed people to transport heavy loads and build new roads. Imagine an ancient craftsman who first thought to turn a log into a circle and fit it onto an axle. From that moment, an entire era began. The wheel became a symbol of progress. And although it looks somewhat crude, it is from such finds that the history of all modern machines and trains began. A herd of goats is referred to in an unusual way: nannies and billies. The females are called nannies, while the males are billies. This amusing terminology highlights their personalities. The goat always appears caring yet stubborn, while the buck is independent and proud. Imagine a farm where the shepherd calls not just a herd, but a team of nannies and billies. It adds a touch of humor to simple rural life. Such names show that people have always tried to see in animals not just food or assistance, but also their unique characters. In English, there is a record-breaking word: set. It has over 400 meanings. It all depends on the context. You can set the table, set the alarm, or set a record. The same short word can represent an action, a state, or an object. Imagine if we had a word that could mean book, to go, and bright. English is incredibly flexible in this regard, and such words make it rich and vibrant. For language learners, set is a real puzzle that requires a dictionary to navigate. Today, we pop bubble wrap for fun or use it to wrap packages. However, it was originally designed as decorative wallpaper. In the 1950s, two engineers set out to create an unusual wall covering: light, soft, and textured. The idea didn't catch on in interiors, but it accidentally became a packaging sensation. Now, it's hard to imagine moving or shipping without this wrap. It's amusing that something that failed as home decor turned into an international symbol of protection and stress relief. Sometimes, the best inventions emerge from places completely different from where they were intended. The giant squid has eyes nearly the size of a basketball, about 25 centimeters in diameter. These enormous headlights are essential for its survival in the depths where eternal darkness reigns. With its eyes, the squid can detect even the faintest light, like the flash of a bioluminescent fish or the approach of a sperm whale. Imagine an underwater world where nothing is visible and suddenly a massive eye spots the slightest glimmer. It may sound eerie to us, but for the squid, such eyes are a guarantee of life. In a world without light, it becomes a true master of night vision. The number of possible combinations in chess exceeds the number of atoms in the entire universe. Each new move opens up virtually infinite variations in the game. This is why no two games are ever exactly the same. Imagine playing a match with a friend, and theoretically, you create a unique variation that has never existed before. This transforms chess from just a game into a true art of strategy and imagination. It's no wonder they call it the royal game. Within those black and white squares lies a whole universe of possibilities. It seems obvious that matches came first and then lighters. But it's the other way around. The first lighter was invented in 1823, while matches appeared 3 years later. It was created by the German chemist Johann Wolfgang Dobereiner and operated on hydrogen. The device looked bulky and dangerous, but the principle was the same: a spark and a flame. So the familiar pocket item once resembled a laboratory instrument. It's ironic that lighters are older than matches, even though matches are now seen as the more ancient way to make fire. The cougar is a cat that seems to have checked off almost every location on the map. You can find it in the mountains of Canada, the deserts of Chile, the forests of the United States, and even on the outskirts of cities. It adapts to any conditions, from snow to heat. No wonder it's called the cat with 1,000 addresses. Unlike many large predators, the cougar is not afraid of human proximity and sometimes appears near settlements. Yet it remains elusive and cautious. It's an incredible example of survival. Where tigers and lions are confined to specific territories, the cougar roams freely across an entire continent. Butterflies have taste receptors located right on their legs. When they land on a flower, they taste it with their feet. This helps them determine whether the plant is suitable for feeding or laying eggs. For us, taste involves our tongue and lips, while for butterflies, it's a light touch of their legs. So, every landing is like a tasting session for them. It's amusing to think that if humans had the same ability, we would taste soup just by touching our fingers to the bowl. But for butterflies, it works perfectly. The Incas in South America built suspension bridges made of grass and vines 2,000 years ago. These woven structures connected the banks of mountain rivers and served as real roads between villages. Every year, the residents of nearby villages would reweave the ropes to ensure the bridge remained strong. Imagine, dozens of people gather, weaving ropes from grass and renewing an entire bridge as one big ritual. Despite the simplicity of the materials, these bridges could support not only people but also caravans with cargo. This is an amazing example of how engineering can emerge directly from nature. Who would have thought that such strange facts are hidden behind familiar things? If you enjoyed being surprised with me, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell. There will be even more crazy stories coming up that you definitely haven't heard before.